Hi everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. Today we're going to focus in on homework 12-4 and we're going to be talking about the amplitude, the frequency, and the period. When you guys go ahead, we know that the standard form is y equals a sine or cosine bx, where a is equal to the amplitude and b is equal to the frequency. Okay, so whenever you see this, your a, that's your amplitude, that's sitting out in front. So if you take a look here, the amplitude is 1/4, your frequency is 2. That means you're going to see 2 cycles from 0 to 360. The period, you're going to have 360 divided by your frequency, which is 360 divided by 2, which is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, B. This negative does not represent any amplitude, okay? That is our reflection, so just keep that in mind. That's one mistake a lot of students make when I ask for a question like this on any test or quiz. A lot of kids want to say that this is -2. This negative represents the reflection over the x-axis. This 2 is our amplitude, the frequency is 3, and we have 360 divided by 3, which is 120. So that means from 0 to 120, you're going to see one cycle. From 120 to 240, you're going to see another one. And from 240 to 360, you would see your last, which would make 3 altogether. Okay, we're going to move on to C. We have our amplitude, 6, frequency, 1/2. The period is 360 divided by 0.5, or 1/2, and you guys are going to get 720. Okay, moving right along. Our amplitude is 2. The frequency is 1/3. That means you're only going to see 1/3 of this entire function right here. So we have 360 divided by 1/3, and you're going to get 6 pi radian. I'm going to do that in radian. And you guys can convert that to degree if you wanted to by doing 6 times 180. Okay, our amplitude is 3. Frequency, we only have 1 right there. So the period is going to be 360. This is the one that we worked on a lot day 1. And last, we have our amplitude, 1, frequency 1/4. We have 360 divided by 0.25, which gives us 8 pi radian. Again, if you guys want to go ahead and convert that to a degree, you can do 8 times 180. 8 times 180. And you would get 1,440. That means in order to see the entire curve of cosine, you would have to go from 0 to 140. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and do some graphing based on this. This little area right here is asking for the, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. The amplitude, the frequency, the period, the domain, and the range. So my amplitude is 1. The frequency is 1/2. So the period is 360 divided by 0.5. So that's 100 and, 720. And that means in order to see this entire sine curve, you have to go from 0 to 720. You're only going to see half of that. All right, now I notice on a lot of your homeworks, you guys have been skipping out on labeling the x and y. Please make sure that you guys do that. We're going to go and count by 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, oops, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, so I have 90, 180, 270, 360. We're going to go up to 1 and -1. You guys, when you guys see that sine curve, I'm just going to do a rough sketch. You're going to start at 0, midway, go back to 0, and at the end, you're going to end at 0. But if I'm only seeing half of sine, what this is going to look like is this right here from 0 to 360, okay? You're only going to be focusing in on half of it. Okay, so some of you guys may just be able to realize that your 3 key points are these 3 key points. A lot of students have a hard time though knowing where they are here, okay? You have to remember you're going to be starting at 0 and ending at 360. So you're going to start at 0, end at 360, and halfway you're going to be at your max. So you guys can go ahead and plot that, and that's going to look something like that. So we have y is equal to sine 1/2 x. So my domain is going from 0 to 360. Make sure you have brackets because that is included. And my range is going from 0 to 1. Okay, so now I want you guys to take a look at this here. When you guys go ahead, if you're having a hard time, you can go ahead and make sure that your calculator was set up correctly. I did that in the last video. But if you guys hit sine 0.5x, you guys can go ahead and hit table, and you're going to go ahead and look at your table values, 0, 0. At 45, there's a decimal, so you wouldn't plot that, but 180, you're back to 1. And then 360, back down to 0. Okay? All right, let's go ahead and focus in on this next one. We have our amplitude as 1/2. We have frequency of 2. That means we're going to have 2 curves. So 1, 2, start at the amplitude, end at the amplitude, start at amplitude, end at amplitude. So we're going to have 2 of those. From the period is 360 divided by 2, which is 180. So that means you're going to see one of those from 0 to 180, and from 180 to 360, you're going to see that second cycle. We already know what our domain and range is. The domain is from 0 to 360, and the range is the lowest point, which is going to be -1/2 to +1/2. Okay, again, if you guys need to go ahead and use your calculator, you would hit y equals, you would clear that, you would get 0.5 cosine 2x, and you would go to your table, and you're going to see quite a few points that you're going to have to go ahead and plot. So I just want you guys to know you're going from x and y. You have to focus in on your 5 key points, but your 5 key points is 0, 45, 90, 135, 180. And that'll bring you to the first cycle, and then you would have to do it again to finish off, so we have 2. So for cosine, you're going to start at the amplitude. You're going to go down to 0. Then you're going to go to -1/2, up to 0, back to 1/2. Okay? And all those points there are right into your calculator if you wanted to focus in on that. All right, so, okay, we have to 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to do this in radians. You can do it in degree. It doesn't really matter. But we have pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, and 2 pi. And again, whatever you're comfortable with when it comes to this, either degree or radian, I'm fine with. So we're going to go ahead. This is 1/2. This is -1/2. So we know we're going to be starting at the amplitude, which is 1/2, and we're going to be ending at the amplitude from 0 to 180. So in between 0 and 90 is going to be 45 degrees. So you guys are going to go ahead and plot that point, okay, at 45. Then at 90 degree, you're going to go down to -1/2. And at 135, in between here, you guys are going to go back up to 0. And then you guys are going to do the same thing here. 0, -1/2, back to 0, to +1/2. And that'll give you your 2 cycles from 0 to 360. Okay, so you guys will have y is equal to 1/2 cosine 2x. Okay, this next one is going to be the same thing. I'm going to skip C because that's still going from 0 to 360. I just want to go ahead and point out E. E does go from -360 to +360. So this is going to go from negative to positive. The amplitude is 2, the frequency is 1/2, so you're only going to see that half there. So keep that in mind. We have our period, which is 360, divide by 1/2. That's going to give us 720. That means in order to see the entire cosine curve, you would have to go to 720. We're only going to see half of it. We know that the range, the domain, is going from -360 to +360. And the range, we know that we're going to go to the lowest and highest, which is -2 to +2. Okay, so when you guys take a look at this, again, I always like to show you guys what half looks like. So the whole cosine curve, you would start at the amplitude and end at the amplitude. But when you guys are focusing in on this, you're only focusing in on half, from here to here. Okay, so there's only going to be 3 key points here that you're going to be focusing in on when you guys go ahead and graph these. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We're at 90, 180, 270, 360. And we have to go to 2, so 1, 2. -1, -2, and then 1, 2, 3. We also have to go into the negatives. So we have -90, -180, -270, -360. I'm going to focus in on the positives first. So you guys are going to realize that you're going to start at your amplitude. Halfway, we're going to be at 0, 360. We're going to be at -2. Okay? All right, then you guys are going to do the exact same thing here. We're going to go in this direction. You guys are going to go to 0. At -360, you're going to go to -2. And if you guys are having a hard time seeing these points that I'm plotting, I want you guys to realize, again, you guys can go into your y equal and get your table values. So you can hit y equals, you can clear this, you can do 2 cosine 0.5x and go to your table and start at 0, and you're going to see 0, 2. You're not going to plot any of these. 180, 0, and then 360, -2, and then you would have to go up to the negatives. Okay? All right, if you have any questions, please make sure that you email me with any of those questions, and I will be happy to help you. Have a wonderful day. Bye.